little Tiffany GoldDigger. She bought a spooky plasma, and I want to talk a little bit about the Rife technology. I'm actually using the wrong bulb for this application for cancer. Well, let's see if it does work or not. I don't think it's not. I would say there's some kind of effect going on, but spooky's a good value. It's probably a very good value for Rife machine. And the Spooky Central, they got the Spooky Plasma, and they have the Spooky Central. The Plasma alone is like less money. That's the Spooky Central. I got one of the first units out. It's the same unit they sell now. But when I bought it, I bought this bulb because that's all they had, And I ordered the Fanatron bulb. But this one, if you're going to attempt, now I would say don't just depend on the technology. No way in hell. Do everything you possibly can if you have cancer. Don't just, but it's good. If the technology is not snake oil. I saw some things online that really they throw so many barbs at the technology. You can see device quack watch or something, device watch and quack watch, and I think it's Stephen Barrett, the psychiatrist, that's evaluating these devices. Now, I'd have to say, some of the stuff I think that Spooky puts out is a little out there because the remote, I'm not going to say it doesn't work, but I'm going to, well, they also tell you that the remote method is the weakest method, but the deal is, I would never, to me, I'm like, I just wouldn't, I'd throw it in there and use it anyway, but I'd never depend on a remote method to, putting the DNA in a remote holder and transmit the frequencies to your DNA. I would not depend on that. Now, I do run 2 generators on me all the time remotely with the remote method. I'm not really sure if they're doing anything or not. And I'm actually running on her, too, for the cat cancer. But, is that going to work? I wouldn't depend on something for serious for that to work, but do whatever you want. I've heard a lot of good reports, though, even though that's not what Rife was doing. But, that's, and to tell you the truth, I think John White, when he first saw that thing with the remote method, if I remember correctly, he thought it was, no way, that can't work. But it does seem to work. But this is what I really want to depend upon is the plasma. The plasma delivery of frequency is, pretty much what Rife did. In other words, Rife used radio waves originally, and he delivered the frequencies directly. Now, different Rife machines have different outputs of power. From what I read, and I might be wrong, but Spooky Plasma puts out 40 watts. Rife's machines, the original ones, put out 75 watts, and even Philip Hoyland had machines that put out 175 watts. And the GB4000 that's sold today, it's quite a bit of money. It's like $4,400 plus $335 for the bulb, plus shipping, plus maybe accessories. You're probably talking north of $5,000 versus Spooky being around $2,000, or maybe a little over $2,000. I mean, it's more than twice as much money. But that GB4000 puts out 190 watts. So, like if I was using that, I don't think she probably wouldn't have any cancer now. But the thing is, if you get, now I'm understanding that what I'm picking up is when they first came out with the Spooky Central Plasma the Spooky Central with plasma, and that has other things. It has pulse electronic magnetic field. It's got a contact method with a little spike of voltage that you can't feel. That's bad. It's bad for viruses. That can knock out viruses allegedly. But the plasma is the main part of it. That's why they also sell a unit that has just plasma. Now, the Spooky, if you're looking at, maybe I have these specs wrong, but the Spooky puts out, I think, 40 watts, and like a GP4000, which is probably the best Rife machine out there. But I can say one thing about Spooky, though, it's got better software. The software, you can pretty much do anything you damn well please with this machine. And then they got another generator with it, not cheap. It's like $500 versus the $100 generator. But if you're going to treat cancer with the spooky, now I see why they're saying you need that Fanatron bulb, because it's a round bulb, but maybe about that big, and it's concentrating the energy in an area about that wide versus this whole length of this thing, and it's only going in one direction. The electrodes are pointing in one direction. So this is over this big long line here, and it's going 360. Now, if that was putting out, if this bulb was being used by the GP4000, 190 watts, I guess that would work fine too. But with the Fanatron bulb, the 40 watts, if I got that spec right, it should work fine. It should work pretty good. So I can't wait to get it, because I think Kitty Cat, she's got drooling going on. See that? And we got to freaking fix her again here. Wipe her face. But she's got some cancer. That's what I think she's got. It seems to be reversing, which is one good thing. But I'd like to get it reversed a lot faster. And I'm hoping that... See, I don't think this is doing the job. I think maybe it's... I don't want to second guess and say it's not doing anything, because it is this unit is putting out the proper frequency. It might be slowing it down. It might be stopping it from spreading. It might be reversing it. I don't know. I think it's doing some kind of good. I can't measure it because I don't have equipment to measure how much cancer she's got. The only thing I can go by is that I'm still hand feeding her the cat food, the kitten food, actually, the mushy stuff. But every day it seems to go a little faster. And, it's always a couple minutes or a few minutes quicker. From a couple weeks ago till today, there's a major, major difference in how fast I can get a can of kitten food down her tummy, hand feed her. Probably do it in about 15 minutes. Actually, in about 8 minutes, I'd say 2/3 of the can is down her tummy of the kitten food. So that is way quicker than it was a couple weeks ago. Several times quicker. So obviously, the tumor on her tongue from cancers has to be going down, but it could be from a number of reasons, because I'm putting CBD oil on her, extra strength CBD oil. I got Life Gold Cat Cancer Support Drops liquid. I have Spark Herbal Concoction. That's what it's called, Spark. That is from a holistic cat veterinarian for cat cancer support. Everything's for cat cancer support. That I mix in her kitten food. Dr. Willard water, which is a catalyzed water, alkalizes, and it has trace minerals in it. That goes in her kitten food. Carbon C60 with olive oil. I'm gonna wipe her face here. Wiped her face. Well, I just put some CBD oil on her. Probably made her drool some too. But she that makes sure she gets happy when I give her that oil stuff. So also, the Live On Labs vitamin C, she gets a few packs of that or so a day. But it's possible that this is doing nothing. It's possible. I don't lean towards that. It's obvious that this is not knocking down the cancer that quick if it's doing anything. But like I said, that is really the wrong bulb for this. If this unit was putting out, if you're using this bulb, I think I don't know if you could use this bulb with the GP4000, because the GP4000, even though it doesn't have very nice software, it's got a lot of power. And the other thing I want to discuss is that Rife had the frequencies, I think there were the two cancer frequencies. I think there were 1,529,450 hertz, just below 1,530,000 hertz. They had another one which is 1,607,450 hertz. It's a little over 1,607,000. Philip Hoyland actually rounded those frequencies to the nearest thousand, and he combined a carrier wave with a radio wave, and the frequency was hit with sidebands. Now, some people have criticized the sideband technology that he used, but it was confirmed that the sideband technology worked at least as good as what Rife was doing originally. And there was nothing bad he was doing. It was Philip Hoyland, I don't think was doing anything bad. They were trying to. He had. I think there was two reasons he did the sideband technology. One was if you're using the radio frequencies like Rife originally used, the FCC would get involved and you wouldn't be able to do it. So he used a different technology. So to deliver the frequencies, he had a carrier wave combined with a another wave. I think it was a radio wave, and when those are combined, it produced an array of sidebands. But then the sidebands were, it would hit the original Rife frequency a little bit different, just a little bit different. In other words, I think the original Rife frequency directly was 1,529,450 hertz, I believe. The other one was 1,607,450 hertz. And Philip Hoyland rounded to 1,529,000, whatever it was, and change. And he rounded that to 1,530,000. And at 1,607,000 and change, he put at 1,604,000. And those frequencies were hit with sidebands by combining. There was a whole bunch of sidebands, and one of the sidebands was hitting the frequency. But actually, by doing it that way, it was probably, there's some people that say it was even more effective than what Rife originally did. If Rife originally said, what the hell is this guy doing? But the other reason he was doing it, besides he couldn't use the radio technology, the radio beam technology, because of the interference with the FCC, the other thing reason he was doing it was not to spitefully hide stuff, but it was to protect the investors, because you couldn't patent the frequency. And in other words, the guys that were paying him money to keep the technology alive, they would lose their butts if the cat, whatever, the cat got out of the bag, the cat got out of the bag, and everybody knew how to do it. I mean, it wasn't doing it out in spite or anything like that. It was just, you had to protect the money, the guys that are feeding you money, you had to protect them. I mean, but the GP4000 can do both. Now, the Spooky, you could program it with the carrier wave and everything, but, when you're splitting 40 watts between, you're better off just using it directly, the frequencies directly, because you only got 40 watts, from my understanding, and you want to use the focused Fanatron bulb. It should work. It should work fine. It should work good. This is not the right thing to use for cancer. This is kind of, and I think they found this out when they produced this, or else they probably would have had a Fanatron bulb in the first place. In other words, it took a lot of engineering expertise to get the bulb to light reliably, the plasma bulb, and deliver the frequencies and everything, and hit these frequencies, exactly as Rife originally did, without the sidebands. But the sideband technology works great. It probably even works better. But, the original Rife frequency, the original Rife method works great too. Either one. Now, the reason I'm also leaning towards saying that the Philip Hoyland method was fine was because John Bedini said it was fine. They got that I think it's RBPX or something. I think it's Rife, Puri, Bedini experimental device, and that's probably a very good device. But the thing is, I think they use paddles. They use physical contact. They don't use it to deliver the frequencies with plasma. They use contact method. But that device will put out all the sidebands in the correct way, and as Philip Hoyland did. But price-wise, it's pretty cheap. It's like $500. It does the job. It does a good job. That's another device that's out there. Probably the best Rife machine to get is the most expensive one, as far as I know, is the GP4000. The software looks like really, the GP4000 software looks extremely crude compared to Spooky software. But the unit, it's still, the software is adequate. It's just that, you know, it's got a lot of power, man. It's got a lot of power under the horsepower under the hood. But it's not cheap. You're paying about 2.5 times more. So, I mean, you know, so is Spooky a value? Yeah, definitely. You know, it's a value. But I guess if you got, you know, millions of dollars, maybe you want to get the GP4000, or maybe you want to get both of them. And maybe you don't want to just depend on the technology. You want to do everything else. So, Miss Kitty Cat, I'm hoping that the Fanatron bulb's going to help her out a lot, but I'm not relying on that only. We got the hydrogen water. We got the HHO. I got the actual real Laetrile stuff now. I got the apricot kernels and the apricot extract. I'm hoping she comes back 110%. And but I'd really love to see this technology work really good. But, you know, me actually using it in the real life now, and I used this on myself. I thought this worked on me, this plasma bulb. I thought it worked very well on me. And it might actually be doing her a lot of good, because she did have, this was all like bald here on this side and both sides. She only had like fur right there. This whole thing right here, right? And this all grew back in. There was like scabs or sores. It came real quick, real fast. Very aggressive cancer. She just all of a sudden, boom, like inside of, there was nothing wrong with her. I couldn't tell one thing wrong with her. All of a sudden, one day, I came home from work or something, and by the time when I came home, I was like, whoa, what the hell? She had like red here and red there, and all of a sudden it got worse and worse and worse real fast. Then I took her to the vet, and I found out she had advanced cancer. So obviously, you know, I got to go in the other way, and I can't stop, and I've been doing this. This thing probably is doing something, but I'm not using the right tool. I got to be using the Fanatron bulb, because, you know, this bulb, I think, like I said, if this thing was putting out, now maybe I have this wrong. You know, from my understanding, the GP4000's got a lot of horsepower under the hood. You know, that Rife machine, if you use the bulb like this, that thing's got so much power that it ain't gonna matter that it's longer and it's going in 360. The Spooky's got great software, and the Spooky Central's got other features that you can use that are beyond just using the plasma. And but the power, I don't think it's inadequate, but it's you gotta use the right. You gotta use a concentrated bulb with the Fanatron bulb that's directional. You gotta use that, because you know, from my understanding, the Rife machines he used, the Royal Rife used, they're 75 watts or greater. And maybe I'm wrong, okay? And I know Philip Hoyland used, some of the machines he used were 175 watts. And you're talking, you know, they had some power. They were using some powerful stuff back then. But you're talking, that's probably the best stuff they had in the whole country. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe I don't know what they used exactly, but you know, the Spooky puts out is 40 watts, from my understanding. But then, if you're putting it through the right bulb and it's concentrated, it's a directional. It's like that 40 watts is going to be more than adequate. So, but I don't think it's not adequate through this for cancer. You know, no, I don't think so. Maybe it's doing something, but I don't think it's not doing what I expected it to do. And it's possible it's not doing much at all, because I'm doing so many other things. Some of the other things I've been doing with her maybe is why the cancers are getting reversed. And it's difficult to say. She seems to like to stay near this, even if it's right in front of her face, right? You don't care. She don't give a crap. Be right there. It doesn't even matter. And but then again, she's kind of like wherever I put her, she pretty much stays in a lot of places, you know. But she does seem to like that thing, so she might be sensing that. To me, she's the best proof that that thing's actually doing something. She does she doesn't like wander around a lot. She does kind of like stick in one spot, but she does seem to like this thing, because sometimes she could stay by this thing for 11 hours in a row. And you're thinking, oh, that's too much Rife treatment. Well, I don't think this is not, like I said, this is not putting out that much, especially over, diffuse like that. Like I said, if you're using a GB4000, I think that long bulb would work. And I think they figured this out as soon as the unit came out. Like, in other words, they don't have equipment like microscopes like Rife had to test all this stuff. They actually had to put it together, get the they could test to see they got the frequency right, and they know what the output is. And then when they probably tried it on people. People were in China. They probably tried it on people that had cancer in China. And probably when they used this, they realized this isn't really cutting it for cancer. This is not really working well, because it's putting out the power of 360, and it's over too long of an area. Now, if this thing was putting out like 150 watts or something, or 3 times the power of what it is now, or 120 watts, maybe it would do the job. But then when you got the Fanatron bulb, it's round, it's putting out power in a concentrated area about that big, and it's only going one direction. So in her case, I could put it like right here by the tongue, and I'll put that little cover on so it doesn't flash in her face, the light, and maybe we'll get rid of that cancer real fast. I can't wait to get this damn thing. I didn't really think about this till I started researching more, because these, I'd have to say this about Spooky. Spooky's got unique things and features that a lot of other Rife machines don't have. But, and I probably could say this, it's probably the best value in a Rife machine. But if if all the costs were exactly the same, say for instance the GP4000 was exactly the same price as the Spooky, despite the GP1000 not having nice software, not having all the other bells and whistles that the Spooky Central has, I would take the GP4000, just because it's got a lot more power. And but this thing should work with the right bulb. This thing should work. You might have to go one over one area at a time. It should work. And so I'm not knocking any products here or anything like that. I'm not saying one thing one way or the other, but there's a reason why that GP4000, it's like there's a reason sometimes stuff costs so much money, It's not, sometimes things cost more money because they're better, right? And they're not better in every single way, but, So, anyway, Kitty, we'll see what happens, man. But I'm going to set up the hydrogen thing and try to treat her with some of the hydrogen. The hydrogen is like a very safe thing to do, too. And it's good because it works as an antioxidant only where the body needs antioxidants. It doesn't work as an antioxidant in cases where the body doesn't need an antioxidant. Sometimes antioxidants aren't good for you in certain situations. People always assume, oh, antioxidant, that's good, yeah. Some free radicals. Sometimes you need some free radicals, believe it or not. They actually do you some good. Depends on, how much and what the application is. It gets pretty complicated, and actually, the people are still studying it. But, the hydrogen seems to be one of the safest things you can do. And what I was thinking is, the hydrogen can permeate much deeper in the body than, say, something like vitamin C. Because it's the smallest, molecule. It's on a periodic table, it's the first element, right? It's real small. So it can pass through the cells, it can pass through, hopefully, the cancer and interrupt the cancer growth. And it's very good for the body. It nourishes the body. The hydrogen therapy might actually turn out to be better and simpler than some of the complex electronic gear that you need to do all these other things. You know, sometimes the simplest things in the world work very well. That's one reason I like the Parazapper. Because the Parazapper, you know, Spooky will tell you, like, you got three methods. You can use the remote, you can use the contact method, or you can use the plasma. And the contact method, they admit, is strong. But, you know, which is basically the Parazapper is the contact method, right? Using that little zapper, show you what it is. You know, I always put my rebel flag on stuff. But you got, this is a 6-pack, this is the My Plus, and get the My Plus 2 and usually 3. I got a few of these zappers. What I like about them is that, you know, it has, you got your positive and negative, so you got the 2 paddles, and you could set it up with 4 paddles too, through the 2 connections. But you can use the contact method with these things, and these got a lot of frequencies. Even this one, it's a 6-pack's got 14 frequencies, and you got other ones, I think, I don't know, 273 frequencies. And you don't have to have a computer, you just run a 9-volt rechargeable battery. If you're running this thing, you carry it with you, and say you run it 15 hours a day, that has a lot of effect over that period of time. You may not reach the tissue deep enough where the problem is, but it's getting you some blood supply. And I always look at it like this. Sometimes when you got a really bad health issue, your blood, your immune system gets so overwhelmed that your blood gets infected. Since this is actually, this electrical current is going through the blood, it has to be knocking out the microbes just the same as it knocks out microbes in water outside the body. I mean, I don't know when the hell they're ever going to test this stuff by the FDA or whatever the hell it is. It would be pretty easy to do, for crying out loud, believe it or not. I mean, they could probably set up you know, they could probably test these things very easily for not much dollars. But, you know, thing is, this would knock out a lot of medicines. This stuff, these things. They're not approved for the human body, but basically they're using, this is, you know, the reason these work so well is because of the positive offset. And this one has the positive offset with the pedestal offset. I like these things because you can carry them with you versus being near a machine. And if you carry them with you, you can actually use them a lot more anywhere at any time. And that portability makes a huge difference, because if you're using this 10 hours a day, I found it does. My experience is it does a lot. It's far more powerful than you think, even though it's a simple thing. Sometimes simple things work really good. But it's not, you know, it's not that. But, you know, the thing is, what I was hoping was that the plasma is going to get in areas where the zappers can't, where the applied frequencies on the outside of the body by physical contact can't. And what I'm finding out is that the power output of Spooky 2 is quite a bit less than what Rife was actually using. So you've got to use that Phanatron concentrated directional bulb. And when you use that, I think you're going to be okay. You're going to be okay. I think it's going to have good effect. But, you know, there's absolutely no Rife machine out there that has the best of every feature, you know, because Spooky has a lot of versatility and a lot better software than anybody else out there. But, you know, you take something like the GP4000, it's got a lot of power, but it's expensive. I mean, you want to pay if you want to pay 2.5 times more money, maybe it's, you know, maybe it's worth it to you, though. I mean, it's whatever you want to do. I mean, I can't be 100% sure how well it works. I do know the GP4000 has had a lot of great feedback from people that used it. Doesn't mean it works every damn time, but there's definitely merit to the technology. Even though if you look up in Wikipedia, they'll tell you about Royal Rife. He was discredited because you know who's editing those articles. You know, hatchet people. You know, hatchet men. And yeah, I mean, back at the time, Philip Hoyland was working with medical doctors. And Philip Hoyland was a good guy. I mean, he wasn't a bad guy. John Bedini basically found out what Rife really was doing and what Philip Hoyland was doing. And this is providing the frequencies directly. What I'm using on this is John White's advanced cancer settings. I don't know what he's got in there, but that's what I'm using. But like I said, this bulb is the wrong tool for this, for the cancer. This is the wrong tool. If this thing was putting out several times the power, then that bulb would probably work okay. But like I said, when you get the Fanatron bulb being directional and concentrated in one area, it's going to be, it's going to be many times more powerful than this, and all concentrated in one area and directional. So it's going to make more to make up for, the 40 watts power versus 120, 150, or 190 or something like that. So it'll work. It should work fine. And I can't wait, right? You snooky, man. Anyway, get her fed again. Trying to get more than 200 calories in her day. She's going to be, I want you to live another 50 years, man. We're going to be, make you into a cat goddess, right? You'd be like the pharaoh. I mean, the pharaohess, right? Egyptian goddess, right? I feel so bad. I feel like I'm doing okay with her, but I'm still very much dissatisfied that I have not got her better quicker. I'm really pissed off that I have not got her better faster than I thought. I know the vet would probably say it's impossible what you've done so far, but because this cat had such an advanced cancer that crept up on her so fast, and I never knew I always thought she was a kitten. Because when I found her, she found me October 4th, 2017. I thought she was a kitten because she's little, but she never got any bigger. And when she got this, she's always had this problem with her tongue somewhat, because she never ate. She would always eat pretty much the gravy on the food and stuff. I never realized that. That she always had a problem with her skin too. But the carbon C60 helped that a lot. And that might have been because the carbon C60 helps deliver the hydrogen too, besides detox. And the carbon C60 has been known to work against cancerous tumors. You can look it up in PubMed and actually the government sites, articles that they publish from doctors. That's not a claim I'm making. It's a claim I'm reciting from the works I've read. You can look them up. They're right there. Just say carbon C60 cancer tumors and Google whatever it is, and you'll find it. You'll find that information. I was giving that stuff to her quite a bit. I think that's what saved her. And I stopped doing it when I gave her the colostrum, because between the carbon C60 and the colostrum, she was like perfect. I'm kicking myself in the ass now because I didn't know. I didn't know she had a problem with her tumor in her tongue all this time. But it got a lot worse. And I think part of that was when I stopped the carbon C60. But she's getting carbon C60 now every day, twice a day, plenty of it. Plus everything else. And I think this is having some effect. But I think when I get the Fanatron bulb, it's probably going to be, you figure if this here is, there's Snooky, get it away. This here, that Fanatron bulb is going to be maybe that big, but it's like concentrated in this much of an area, and it's going to go in one direction, like that. So if you take this, and you say that concentration is going to be at least a few times more, plus in one direction a few times more, it's going to be like at least 10 times more concentrated, which will make up plenty for that 40 watts, And it's going to knock it. It should actually knock the cancer out really quick, hopefully. So I'm hoping. So, when that happens, you need to be like a brand new kitty, right? We're going to make sure you get hydrogen treatments and everything else. And, I don't know. Maybe I'll run the longevity frequencies on her too. DNA repair. There's a set of frequencies you can run on her that I've been running them on myself here for the last several years through the remote. DNA longevity, DNA repair longevity. It's a certain set. They're patented frequencies. I can't reveal them. Don't ask how I found them, but I found them. I got them. I think Pulse Technology puts them out. And I run them in the remote on me all the time. So, right? Anyway, so that's my discussion on Rife. You know, there's a lot of other Rife machines that are really good. They're not crap. You know, probably the best value, you know, for cost-wise, probably is the Spooky 2. It's got the most versatility. But, you know, when you do some of these Rife machines that are big bucks, there's a reason they're big bucks. They put out a lot of power. So you're paying for that power too. You know? Like, in other words, Spooky 2 is not the only one around. I mean, there's a lot of there's other machines, these other machines out there that cost big bucks. They're not crap. They're not crap. They work. But you're not going to hear too much about them because, like, you'll never see them in a hospital. I mean, Ed Skilling has the Photon Genius. That's another thing. I mean, you can see on Device Watch, they'll tell you it's a bunch of crap and stuff, and that's not true. And also, they got the portable version from Skilling Institute, the Photon Genie. But you know, the thing is, these things break. Who the hell fixes them, right? You don't take them down to your local electronics store and say, hey, this thing needs to be fixed. You know? So, anyway. But I think a lot of other Rife machine makers are taking note of Spooky 2, and Spooky 2 is getting a large share of the market right now. So, but, you know, I just want to point out that there is a lot of the other products out there. I think it's the A-tier, Robin is another one. They're not garbage. They're good products. They are good products. They are not crap. I think where Spooky 2 is head and shoulders above everybody else is the software. Might be a little complicated for most people, but it's got far more flexibility than the other ones. Like I said, you're paying, sometimes the other ones, you're paying big bucks for that horsepower under the hood and wattage. And that wattage is what Philip Hoyland and Rife are using higher power, at least from what I've read, than what Spooky 2 is using. But then again, if you're using the right bulb, the Fanatron bulb that's directional and concentrated, the power for Spooky 2 should be more than adequate, you know. So, right, Snooks? Boy, I wish you were 100% better. I wish I jumped on this crap before, man. I just thought you were getting fussy with your food or something. She was always kind of a fussy eater, and I didn't pick up on it. She was having a serious problem. You know, I mean, I did pick up on it, but I wish I picked up on it faster. But I'm so busy sometimes. Oh, yeah. I was being demonetized on YouTube, so I was more focused in on that instead of you, because I was not realizing, you know, there was a problem going on, or that was at the time when this problem was being happening with her. That was when I was being demonetized on YouTube. So, and who knows? These videos like this in the future, the big gorillas behind the scenes will be saying, we don't want any independent voices talking about this kind of technology because it's going to be a threat to, you know, major medical, billions of dollars moving into their, you know, their market share. And they'll say, this is something, I don't know what. They'll say it's against their community guidelines for me even talking about this. It sounds ludicrous today. Maybe it isn't ludicrous today. Maybe it is. I don't know. They freaking change the rules so much. I'm really aggravated with them. But they really pissed me off big time. And but this technology has worked in the past, and it does work even today. Thing is, even when you got something that works, it doesn't work every freaking time. You know? Well, in her case, I'm not depending only on technology. I'm doing everything I can think of, because that increases her odds. I mean, I wish she was getting better faster, but she is getting better a little bit every day. But she takes a lot of work, believe me. And I do not mind doing that, because you're my friend, right? Right, Snooks? She's still kind of crapped out. I'll bring her outside. She'll be livened up. Probably bring her out. I'll bring her out tomorrow. So, right, boo boo. You don't want to talk. You don't want to say meow. Huh? Anyway, Snooks, you don't know what we're going through here. Maybe you do. You do. Maybe you do, huh? Anyway, this is a really great cat. She's like when she's feeling better, she's like, right, Snoopy, huh? Anyway, she gets me worried. Maybe she's just tired. She's got her ups and downs during the day, right? Anyway, she's going to get fed here pretty soon with the special stuff I got from the holistic vet, you know, for cancer support and everything else. Cat vitamins, Dr. Riller's water, the whole 9 yards. Live on Labs, liposomol vitamin C. You're getting everything, boobs, right? Okay. So, and I really can't wait to, I'll be getting that Fanatron bulb probably next week sometime, maybe late next week, so we'll jump on that right away. Hopefully that'll have very good effect.